It's 5:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, need to call to order the meeting on today, Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. So we'll start with a roll call. Jessica Middle.
Here.
Larry Jackson. Leanna Welliver. Robin Kauser. Richard Laughlin. Sam Childers. Joe Salinas.
Here.
Amy Slaughter. Let me read the chairman's statement to get started. The Historic Review Board is an advisory board appointed by City Council. My name is David Bullion. I'm the chair of the Historic Review Board. It is the function of the board to consider all applications for certificates of appropriateness for properties in the historic district and for landmarks. In considering whether to approve or disapprove of an application for certificate of appropriateness, the Historic Review Board shall be guided by the City of Fredericksburg design guidelines and standards and historic preservation ordinance. If anyone present wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to any item on today's agenda, please sign up on the roster, the persons to be heard sheet in the back. It is not necessary to sign up to speak if you are the owner of or representative for a project on the agenda tonight. You will be called on as the case is called. The approval by the board does not take place of any type of permit. Permits must be obtained for all work. No work of any type is to be started without obtaining the appropriate city permits after a certificate of appropriateness has been issued by the Historic Preservation Officer. The Historic Review Board welcomes citizens' participation and comments at all of our regular meetings. The board offers citizens the opportunity to address them by signing up to speak prior to the meeting. We would like to limit that to 3 minutes for a conversation. Are there any signups, Shelby, tonight?
Just the applicants present to present.
Perfect. Okay, so you can come up to speak whenever your application comes up. So we'll move on to item number 5, approval of the meetings of the December 13th, 2022 meeting. Hopefully you guys have all had time to look at those. Are there any comments or corrections? Okay. Shelby, can you get that? And let me welcome Robin Kauser to the board. This is her first meeting of the year, so thank you for volunteering for this position. So glad to have you aboard. So moving on to item number 6, certificate of appropriateness for applications for individual consideration tonight. And I'll call on application 23-004 416 418 East Main Street. So if you guys are present, come up, introduce yourself, and tell us what you'd like to do.
Should I go here?
Yeah, right there is fine. Yeah.
I apologize. We did not really know we were going to be presenting today, so
We're gonna wing it.
we're just going to kind of wing it.
Great. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank y'all for hearing us. So primarily we have a 416 East Main and then 418. They're connected houses. The 416 is more of a 1960s, and Anna probably knows more about the actual time period than I do. And then the right side is more of a 1890s Victorian style. They're both going to be converted into bars. So the Brook is going to take the 416 side, which will be Brook's Bubble Bar. And I don't know if y'all have seen all the pink limousines and shuttle buses around town or whatever, but pink is kind of her thing, you know. So color is a deal that we need to work through with Anna. I think what we had proposed, I don't think Anna was approving based on the time period. So we want to kind of talk through that and see what we can come up with as a solution to figure it out. Our goal is to get her in the space. The interior remodel is going to be very minor. We're just adding a couple bathrooms and a little bar area. So really the exterior part is the big deal, even though we're not really doing a whole lot of construction, it's basically just repainting. So we want to make sure we get that right. So, that's basically what the color part of the portion is. The right side, the J. Evans bar, I had introduced kind of a gold and a black. We're going to remove the black and we're going to have the gold color pretty much with the white on the right, the 418 side, and then reduce the amount of pink, add more white on the left, and then incorporate some of the gold to tie it all together. We'll have to come up with if we can do some kind of pink over there on the side. That would be the questions really on the color. I don't know if we can discuss that now and then we want a different subjects afterwards, or however you want to do that.
Cool. Okay, so Anna, you want to go through your findings? Then we'll open it up for discussion after that. So, and the board would like to recognize Richard Lothman coming in as Mitch Lights. Get that in the notes. Anna.
Can you hear me? Okay. So 416 and 418 East Main in the Central Business District. And there are 2 ratings on this. So 416, the mid-century had a low rating, and 418 currently has a medium rating. That is from the 2005 rating. So the 416 would have been eligible for anything higher than a low. I think if we were to look at this again today, I would recommend at least a medium on the mid-century section. Don't think that comes in too much play here because the paints regardless of rating. So looking A, B, and C, repaint all exterior features. You can got the mock-up there in front of you. And so my comments were based out of the design guidelines that really this is obviously a unique structure, and that we do have 2 very distinct time periods, and I think really good representations of both, of the Victorian on the right and the mid-century on the left. And then paint colors appropriate for each time period and style, right? And so obviously we've talked about those and they know the concerns. So if they've got a new proposal, definitely willing to consider those. Removing the black as a primary on the posts would be appropriate for the Victorian. And I think it's the kind of the number of features that are painted pink or proposed as pink on the mid-century, the window frames and soffits. So if you've got another proposal, definitely want to see that and consider that. So the other 2 items were the fencing and dumpster location. And if you're familiar with this site, it's got some constraints. Much like what we saw last week, it's a deep lot with a residence on it, now converted to transition to commercial use. So accessing the rear is problematic just because of the availability of access on either side. So
it doesn't have rear access then?
It currently does not have, there's not a drive on either side. The drive goes into what it has been, I guess, a garage there on the left side.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a very
immediately
shallow.
adjacent, on the east side, there's a driveway within about 20 feet or so. And then on the right-hand side, I don't know what address that is, but there's another address that's about 30 or 40 feet away.
So that's where the dumpster location comes into play.
Yeah, so we're kind of, no, we would love to have it in the backyard somewhere, but we just don't know how to get access back there.
So staff's recommending against this location. Not sure if it's actually accessible by a commercial truck, because that is such a narrow driveway as it is. When anyone's parked there, right, if there's just an average Dodge truck, it covers up the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it almost projects onto the right of way.
I think we would have to strike that, and not allow parking, on that. What we'd have to do.
And yep, and then the only other issue was the fencing. They had proposed a new steel fence right here, next to the front porch of the Victorian section of the house. So staff was recommending that any new fence just go back in the same location as the existing, which you is here. Correct? Is this, Keith, can you see the
Yes.
screen?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Remove that fence.
So it's 3 items: color, the fencing,
Location of the
the
dumpster.
So,
And I've cited the relevant sections of code for landscaping, service areas, parking, fencing, and then the color palettes.
We're gonna make it look a lot better than it is now, for sure.
it won't take much.
So really the stickler is, is there, any way we can get some form of paint, just on the trim on that 416 side? And then where can we put the dumpster? Those are really the two main things. I think the rest of the colors we can work through, move the fence. Those are really the two biggest issues we got to try to get resolved.
Right. So board discussions. Let's start with the paint first of all. So, what do you guys think about the applicant, Anna's comments, and your own comments?
This is another example of what it would look like of this my house.
Okay. That's the 416 side, right?
Mhm.
That's okay.
We can definitely take the peak off the fascia and just have it on the trim, and then take it off the concrete on the porch.
This sign would not be on the top of the building. It's just-
And then we can add some gold features over there too. And the stone actually has a little bit of a gold tint. It's not real clear in the pictures, but there's a little few grounds in gold, in the actual stone is on there.
I mean, you do understand that our purview is only the exterior. You can do whatever you want to on the inside. So
Yes.
you got free reign to go crazy with the colors on the inside. So
Yes, sir.
what do you guys think?
There's a lot of colors in mid-century we can use.
I would agree with you, Amy. It seems it is a very unique property, and the board is always talking about demarcation for different time frames. So it's pretty obvious. It's 2 different time frames. So having 2 separate palettes, I think, is very appropriate. The one thing that kind of got me was just using pink as the accent color. Just seemed a bit odd. And then as far as the palette with the roof, a bit of a clash there. Personally, I'm not opposed to pink. I did a little research myself on mid-century palettes of colors, and there are some shades that would be appropriate. And there's 2 things you think about when painting. One, what color to use, and then where to put it. And the second part of that is probably just as important as the color choice as well. So maybe a relook at if you found the appropriate shade of pink to go on there, and actually locations, maybe work with Anna on that one would be my others.
Jason, is there any chance that that roof needs to be replaced anytime soon, and we could possibly put a different color than red on the mid-century part.
Yes. Yeah, I was fixing to say that, the owner is definitely, thinks he could get another year out of it, and then that is definitely part of the plan to replace it. So it will definitely be a different color.
So, you know, gray or something in a different color.
A neutral.
As part of this package, then I think we can look at it a little bit.
Okay.
Red and pink together.
Yeah, it definitely clashes for sure. Now, I know that's something that would happen in the future. So you would be able to see what the end result is gonna be, but I know it's not gonna happen probably for at least a year. Now, I'm kind of for two different sides, so I tend to agree with you more as to embrace the different time periods and make each side kind of its own instead of trying to tie the two together. That's kind of was my thought when I did the original proposal, and I think once the roof color is changed, I think that'll jump out at you more than it is now. So if we choose, I think if we find a pink, a lighter shade, and then separate the building, I think we can make it work forever.
I mean, on the 416 side, you've got three elements. You got rock, which you're not going to paint, but then you have siding, and then you have the trim as well. So I mean, you've got a pretty big landscape to work with, but unfortunately, you just have to deal with that current color roof
Right.
until that's
I tried to get him to change it right now, but I don't. He's not going to right now. So we'll definitely have that done, and it'll definitely make it look a lot better. And like you said, I think a gray or a warm gray will draw out the colors. Right. Now, are you saying you would have to have the roof done at the same time? Okay.
as a suggestion.
That's a suggestion. That would be a suggestion, but it would also pull your color together and your dark color like that.
Yes, sir.
That's not a requirement to get passed by the
It's just a
board.
suggestion.
I mean, there are palettes that you could present with a current
Right.
roof color that would be acceptable. So just make sure we're clear on that.
Okay. Okay. Did you have anything else to add on color? So I think I can redo the color elevations and then re-propose those, send those back to Anna, and then hopefully it'll be DLs like you.
I think that covers the paints, and maybe we'll be able to get a motion for all three components. See the next two parts. What about the fencing? So let's bring that up. As the application says, you want to bring it to the front of the porch. That's really not compliant with our current standards. So you're okay to push on the east side, push it back
Yes,
to
sir.
okay.
Yeah, the idea there was we were gonna put it to the front of the porch, and then he was gonna allow access to it. At the end of the porch, also put a gate so he could allow access from the porch into
Right.
the back area, but we can push it to where it was before and
Front,
make it
okay.
work just as.
And Anna, was there a discussion on what type of fencing? Make sure that's appropriate too.
So we're not
metal
really
fence.
stuck on anything as far as the actual fencing type, so, we're open, so. The owner just said, whatever y'all think is gonna be best for y'all's recommendation, and then still go with the color palette. We can actually even paint it gold, gold trim as well. Yeah, I think we would definitely do something ornate, and go with the Victorian style. But I just wanted to put something in there and then work through this, the location, and we'll finalize that with our vendor, and then send something in email to what the fence actually looks like. It'll definitely be more ornate.
more period appropriate. Metal's fine, so.
Yeah.
That's on the east side now. What about the west side? Because that incorporates with your dumpster issue, so.
Yeah,
What,
so that
what are your thoughts on the board, on the location of the dumpster, given the constraints of the lot? My first thought on that is there any way you could push on the west side? Could you push the dumpster behind the fence?
The
That
only
would probably make
problem
it
is
easier for a truck to get to it because of the angle, give you more room to turn.
we'd have to cut the building because with the roof overhang, it overhangs about 2 feet. And it's only 9'6", and those trucks are gonna hit the dumpster if they come in there, if it's the pickup type. As you can see the corner of the roof.
What do you? We don't see the same thing. So the corner of the roof is.
Yeah.
What's the distance from the property line to the corner of the roof? How much?
That's only about 7 feet, I believe. It's about 9.5 feet from the fence all the way to the actual face of the building.
And 7.5. And the what's the width of the dumpster?
But the dumpster usually are 6 feet.
6.
So if I pushed it back, then I think we would have to not demo the front corner of that building enough to where the dumpster truck is not gonna hit the building. Because we can protect low to keep it from going and hitting stuff. We can't protect high, you know.
And placing it on the other side, on the east side, is not
It's
possible. Or?
It's an option. You know, I that was my only other. If we could not make it work on this side, we could potentially do the pedestrian access for the future work on the narrower side, and then we could put.
Could you show us on this screen since?
So you got the driveway,
Mhm.
right? The other side. So you put another driveway here as well.
I doubt TxDOT's going to work with you on that. Yeah. I don't think so. I think you're out of luck on that one.
We have more width over there, but don't see how we can drive access. What's that? I couldn't understand. Food? Yeah. So we're not gonna do any food right away. That's gonna be part of the phasing later on.
But when you do, you'll have to have location.
Yeah,
of
so we'll have
restart.
a master site plan that, there's gonna be a little commercial kitchen in the back that will actually start preparing the food. Other than that, I think it would just be prepackaged for that point.
Is it possible you could do roll-off dumpsters or roller dumpsters instead of a big dumpster and put them beside the building?
We could, I mean, that's a question, you know, how do you think you'd survive with that?
What's the city requirements first off? Is with the only occupancy and the type of business. So from the city standpoint, you could,
So we don't technically have to have a dumpster for a commercial park. Well,
so would the roller dumpsters be acceptable? That way we can remove that issue, make it a little easier.
yeah, we can make that work.
And then the fencing on the 416 side will be, is there a fence there now? I can't remember.
Yes, sir. There's a stone column that's existing.
Okay, so there's not one now. So will you put a fence over there for just for security?
Yeah.
And flush with the building as well, presumably.
Pretty much fine. That fence is right there.
On the other side. So it sounds like we removed the issue on the dumpster. You guys amicable to do a roller fencing. It's not what you put on the application, but we've got a remedy there. So it's just still out on the color. So how would the board like to proceed with giving some guidance to the applicant on what's acceptable and something that they can put in their work plan? We don't slow down development. Yeah, but my comment was that the building, the new fence would be on the corner of the existing 416. It would cut across. So it would be flush with 416, not the neighbor's fence.
Right. And you're,
So the fencing can come up to the corner of the building, not the corner of your neighbor's fence. Right. It'll be a setback from your neighbor.
so the question that Brooke was just asking, so on the color palette for the mid-century, what are our options for those pink colors on there?
Can you hear me? Okay. So I think some pink would be okay, but again, it's the features that are being painted as well. The foundation and the concrete wouldn't be appropriate to be painted. So I think if you can reduce it, again, not necessarily the idea of pink. Clearly, there was pink in the mid-century. Maybe not so much in Fredericksburg. So I will work with you, but just keep in mind of the actual features you're proposing to paint.
Okay.
Color palette this for each period. Unfortunately, it's restricted.
Right.
So it's better if you can bring the color forward, work with advantage, come up with there's 6 colors that you can use.
Right. Like, yeah, she's been great. We'll come up with something. I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 choices.
And yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like it's very characteristic of mid-century to have a pop of color on the door. So that might be a great place to start on the doors and kind of see how it looks. And if something needs to be added past that would be my suggestion.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with Richard. The roof just throws me off. It just, yeah. When I first did it, I was like, oh my God, that looks terrible. Brooke's going to hate it. But I know in the end, it's not going to look. Sorry, we didn't mean to take up so much time.
Yeah, because basically we're denying it.
He just wanted somebody else to say it.
I'll make an effort, but I'll have to pick it apart a little bit.
If you want to break it into 3, that's
Perfect. I'll do what I can.
I think this means we're guilty on all counts, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we're in the law enforcement center. I'm fixing to be like judge or something.
Here's your sentence. Okay, so I make a motion to deny for application 23-004 based off of the Fredericksburg Historic Design Guidelines and Standards to deny parts A and C. And for part B, I for for Part B, approve the fencing on the east and west sides with the stipulation that of the locations that were stipulated. So on the east side, where the current fence is, and on the west side, that it's in line with the building.
Jessica made a motion to deny items A and C, but approve item B, including fencing, conditioned upon current location of fencing, placement of current location of fencing to the east and matching up fencing to the west in line with the building.
And I guess I should add to that for Part B, no dumpster fence, obviously.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Now discussion. Any discussions on clarity? If it's red, it's on. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll just yell it. Do we want to see what the fence is that they decide is period appropriate before we say just blanket that we approve fencing?
Yes, that's a good idea.
So,
So I'd like to amend my motion to, for Part B to, that the applicant would need to return to Anna for approval of appropriate fence material and design. Administrative approval, sorry.
and Joe, you were the second to that
Yes.
first motion. Are you okay with the amended?
Yes, I am.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Oh, go. It'd be up to them to figure that. Right. If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, approval of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So just for clarity, so you know, so you can put the fences where on the corners of the buildings, no dumpster, no big dumpsters, have rollable dumpsters. And on the color, just bring back here the pinks that you would like to try to match a little bit differently than what was presented. And Anna has administrative approval. Hope you can work with her through that, and it won't slow you down. So.
Okay.
But are you guys any questions or?
Time frame, I mean, it'll probably take me about a week or so to get all this back. Is that okay?
It's up to you. It's
Okay.
She's available 24/7. So she works on weekends.
Don't say that.
Yeah. So she's fine. Right.
All right, we'll make all these changes on the elevations, the colors, get details for the gate. We'll get you a cut sheet even for the rollable dumpsters, and show the site plan with the fences moved back.
Right.
We'll get that to you as soon as we can.
Sounds good.
Thank
Can't wait
you.
for your business to open. So
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Did
Thank
you have
you.
anything else, Brooke?
Good. Okay. Moving on, item number 7, discussion about possible demolition by neglect letter for 413 West Creek Street. We have applicant. You want to come up and, if you want to, yeah.
Is it okay if we leave now?
You betcha. Yeah, you take off. Yeah, take off. Thanks.
You have to listen.
Okay, well, you're all probably real familiar with this project. So it's been a little more than a year that we've been here. So the owners,
Randy Stalin. So just
hi,
for
by the way,
record. Okay.
sorry, Randy Sailing, SKT Architects. So the owners are here, and they can explain their direction on the property or what they intend to do if the property has changed. It's currently now up for sale, and we understand the board's and Anna's concern about the condition of the property. I'll let them kind of explain with where they're at with what their intentions are with the property.
I'm Tammy Pack. This is my husband, Wes Pack, and we are the owners of 413 West Creek and have been for a while. So I started thinking through this, and I said, it's almost more a demo by delay than neglect, because we have thought of almost nothing but this project probably for 2 years. We put a ton of work into it. Randy Stelling has done an incredible job. You guys worked with us incredibly well, so no one has delayed anything on purpose. It's been moving forward. But the project is at least our vision of the project is huge. Some other people will have a much smaller vision of the project, which Ann and I have discussed, I think would probably be seen as favorable to you guys not to build such the massive compound there that for our family, we kind of would like to have, right? So during that time, during 2 years, a few things have happened. Number one, what's happened in the economy. Our bids for it, our ballparks have literally doubled, and our interest rates have literally doubled. So then we have to look at it and go, well, yeah, because we're building this big thing, but that's how this property would work for our family. And I know there are other people that could love and restore this property and not need to do that. The other thing that happened, in all honesty, we bought a 1796 home in another state that we're doing a massive remodel on that's already halfway finished. Again, no one's fault. No one's dragging our feet here. That one just didn't need as much architecture design. It was ready to start the finishes and all of those things. We're building those 3 cottages that y'all have approved behind 514 West San Antonio. 2 construction projects is a lot right now. And y'all may know my husband's also studying art in Italy at the moment. He's just home for a break. So it's a lot of me to have all the construction going. And then the final thing that happened is we found a new-ish home that really suits our family's needs well. And we thought, I bet someone out there would want to take this on and do something with it and just get it going. And as of the moment, there's no guarantees in life, but we are actually under contract. So we do have a buyer who is wanting to take this on. Everyone who's looked at this property, I think, with any real interest has been a builder. And it seems to us like that's a really good fit, is for a builder to want to take this on. So honestly, we're just tired. And we think it's time for someone else. We've just spun our wheels on it. And for us to pare it back to the price levels that it was before, we could do that, but then it's not the house we really wanted for our family. So that's kind of where we are. We completely understand. We want the house to be preserved. We know it looks terrible when you see, especially, it's always looked bad, but it looks really bad now. These 1990 rebuilds, of some of them at least, are of these porches look absolutely horrible. So we did do, I don't know if you guys saw new in the packet, we made a decision right before we listed it. We said either we're going to do it or someone else is, but either way, our builders were like, we can't get bids from subs. They're like, we don't know what's behind here. We can only ballpark you. The bank's not okay with that. They're like, no, we have to have a bid. So what they came up with is, let's go in and do some very selective demo. And so we did actual demo to the tune of $117,000 on purpose. We didn't do anything to make design choices. It was things that we felt anyone with this home was going to need to do, which was get under the floor joist, look at the foundation. We took off that big 2,000 square foot building on the back that we understood was very favorable for you guys for us to remove. It was in horrible condition and was attached to a historic structure. So the things we did, we felt very seriously that anyone doing the project, be it us or someone else, needed to be done to be able to get bids. And we want a buyer who buys it to know what they're getting. We want someone to be able to say, okay, I can take this on, or I can't. We don't want this house falling down either. So we understand what you're doing. Do whatever you need to do. We just thought it would be respectful to at least tell you how we got here and what's going on.
Appreciate coming tonight and explaining what's going on. Sad to see that you're not going to do it. I know you
Us too.
guys would have done a great job on it.
Us too.
So, Anna, you want to go through your thoughts, since you're the one that brought it up? And you did, but were you able to make a site visit?
Yes, so Kyle and I met with the owners yesterday. We didn't tour the property. I mean, it's pretty obvious the state that it's in. So no new real information. I think she summarized it, and it's in desperate need. And so from the city's point of view, right, we don't know if the sale will go through. We surely hope it does. But this is our part of the ordinance to oversee the demolition by neglect. So it's up to you to essentially tell me to send the letter and formally get that process started. And then they would have 30 days. They or the new owner would have 30 days to essentially get back with a new plan if it's going to be the full plan that was previously approved or modified, pared down, but something about stabilization, which is key right now.
And then 60 days past that as well. So it's quite a long process. So you or the new buyer would have plenty of time to do that. But were you able to look at, because I've driven by it a couple of times, and the other day I was walking by and had some mental notes, things that I thought needed to be done to stabilize it. Do you have a list of things or not?
I think you said you worked with a structural engineer, or Kevin is working with a structural engineer. So there are engineers involved. So the city didn't create a specific list at this time. I mean, we can, the very obvious things that are exterior. I'm assuming there's more things inside because floors have been ripped up. So that'll be part of the letter. We'll be describing those things that we can see from the outside that need to be taken care of.
And I would like to ask a question. I don't know, how does this like actually happen in terms of if this sale keeps going through, at what point is he answering y'all and what point are we answering? And I don't know if you give any guidance on how that works.
Alex, I see you're here. So I see the buyer's rep is here if you have any questions of us or an update. But essentially when it's transferred, I mean, when the title changes, then we'll work with whomever, any interested buyer, obviously we'll talk to and be honest, like you've been very upfront with the conditions. So we'll do the same. But once the title's transferred, then the notices would go to them.
Yeah, so
right. But the issue is the same.
Whoever owns
yeah.
the property at the time, but the
So,
letter.
right.
So.
Yeah.
I just wanted to state that personally, this kind of kills me because we got this fantastic place over in Natchez, which is 10 hours away. And this was just down the street, and I would love to see this completed, but we just have some going on. I'd love to see the vision that we had matriculated or be produced and finished. So, what it's worth.
In reading the stipulations for the letter, I mean, it's about stabilization. It's not aesthetics. It's not anything except preservation. And just from the exterior, from just my view, and I'd like to hear from the board as well. But the porch is obviously it's a bit of an issue. And then I think over on the east, I guess it's the east side, the foundation where that faux front work is. It looks like maybe some things are bowing and
It's been that way for a long time, so I don't know if it's moving, but an engineer would probably be the one to.
And
the thing to keep in mind is that porch over on the west side. That was built back in 1990 something.
And I talked to the Spraggins when they did the demo about. I said, we're not going to do that right now too, because obviously anyone's going to have to take that rotten thing off. And her comment was good. She said, "Well, right now we've done the big picture stuff." She goes, "This is more of a scalp. This is coming in not very carefully because you've got to preserve the building. That's the only reason we didn't do that. It was kind of a different level."
Yeah. But it's just about stabilization at this point.
And the silly thing is, it really wasn't matching the same design of what the house building was different.
So, board, you guys had a chance to drive by the property, take a look at it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I have a question about, and it's probably the same kind of clarification that Tammy was looking for. When the new owners take possession, will they even be held under the same kind of letter, or will they be? So when does that start? As soon as they take it, then their 30 days starts?
Looking at the ordinance, it's talking about, it doesn't speak to ownership per se, but it's the property. The wellness says the record owner of such resource. And that's why we're doing it too now. I think it is important to be upfront, since it is for sale, that they know what they're getting into, that the city does have an active demo by neglect order that's standing, essentially. And we'll work with them. I mean, obviously, if they're coming in and buying it and wanting to do something, we'll work with them. But this is just what we have to do to get the ball rolling.
Right, but it wouldn't, if it takes just 10 more days to finalize the closing, then that does not mean that the new owner has 20 days to bring it up. The new owner would get a new 30 days.
Actually, process it. Whoever owns the property, 60 days after that. So 90 days that the owner of the property has.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to figure out is if the new owner gets the full 30 days they don't. Okay.
If it comes to that, we'll get a legal interpretation.
Okay. That's what
And for me, the stabilization, I don't, given the scope of what's required on the project, the stabilization, I don't think is going to be that significant compared to the other costs. At least what I'm thinking. Richard, you're the builder here. Just stabilize it. I mean, what do you think?
I think if y'all could get in there and stabilize this porch so it doesn't collapse, 'cause y'all don't want it to look like that either.
No,
I think taking it off is not the right thing to do at this point because it does protect the existing
True.
building somewhat. So I think
shore it up. It's kind of, I mean, that's kind of
Right,
stabilizing. Get some
I
start
think
doing
as a board, it's our
proactively.
obligation. I know y'all are moving forward in good faith, but I think as a board, it's our charge to file the demolition by neglect.
Right.
And then y'all get it stabled up, get it sold, and then whoever takes it on knows it ahead of time. The city isn't going to backhand them.
Yes.
And I think that as a board, I think it's our responsibility to go ahead and file this, even though we know y'all are going to do the right thing. But I think in the meantime, if it was shored up, that would probably be a good step in the right direction.
And I went back and reviewed the items, for the letter for stabilization, and I was looking for when I was driving by or walking by. All the windows are intact, so there's no water coming in that visibly from that. The roof looks like it's intact as well. So it's more about just, as Richard said, stabilizing the porches, and then I'd really have a look on that on the east side, that foundation, because
That foundation is bad, but that foundation has been bad way
Yeah.
before. I don't know that it's changing, and redoing that is a big job. As we told every buyer, that's a big part of your cost is doing
But
that.
just they're stabilization, so it may not.
It's got that support there already.
Where are those pins? It's got.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Maybe that's what it
Yeah.
It's in there.
Just-
And all the floors, as far as the main floor, those have all been taken out.
And kind of laid out and numbered.
Numbered, and then we've got them in the back, inside. So it's just a puzzle to put back together, but put back together properly once you get the foundation addressed underneath. Currently, there were just boulders and rocks and things like that supporting the front.
Which turns out, Jim Jarreau says, not unusual. He's like, that's normal around here.
Pretty
So
common, yeah.
it's not as bad as you thought.
Any other?
But yeah, we definitely want to work with you guys, obviously, and we understand that you're just doing what's right for the building as well. This is no surprise. It's just part of the process. So no hard feelings.
I have a little concern. The property line is wide open. Anyone can go in there. I know you've got some no trespassing signs, but I mean, someone can go in there and throw rocks in those windows, and probably that glass is vintage glass.
Some of it.
So, is there any way that some kind of a security fence could be put around the perimeter of that property?
I would say no, respectfully, only because we did that in the beginning and it looked horrible and we got so many complaints about it. And every time the wind came, it was falling down. I mean, we spent $12,000 to put fencing up that everybody was calling and complaining about.
We did that mainly for a safety purpose because
For
of
that
the equipment and everything that was going on.
Mhm.
And now that we've got it cleaned up, where we were going to assess it, at this point, buyer or whatever happens next is, I would say that's going to be passed on to their responsibility.
Okay.
The neighbors didn't like it. We did
Yeah, it
do it
was-
for a while. They did not like it.
Well, my thought is, more damage occurring to it by someone who decides to throw a rock through one of those glass windows or whatever. Most of your construction sites have security fencing around them, and I don't know whether that's part of code or what. Not residential. Okay.
I'm not sure, I agree with you, Joe, but in requirements for stabilization, I'm not sure that's in there. Maybe we can review that, but mainly about protection of the asset of the structure. So,
Okay.
And I think that's one reason the neighbors did like it is it looked so commercial. We were trying to do it for safety, but it looked like it was a commercial project and it's in a residential zone, so.
Randy, I have a question for you. It's out of our preview, but do you have any concern with them pulling the floors out that the house has lost its diaphragm and there's a chance we get a windstorm that it could go over without any internal bracing? The floor's gone.
Well, probably the best to ask the structural engineer that. But my general opinion from what I've seen is as long as the renovation work is going to happen in the near future, I think it's going to be okay.
It's kind of surprising if you go upstairs. Downstairs is harder to get into, but if you go upstairs, every buyer that's looked at it said the upstairs looks totally normal. Everything up there is still completely intact. And like, wow, there's just not. And I was like, assume there's still a lot to do, but I mean, it's shockingly normal upstairs. The second half of it is, so it maybe has more structure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Upstairs looks no different than when we bought it.
I
So
don't think
that-
he's
all that
removed
structure.
any critical diaphragm at this point. It's going to make much difference. By the way, those floors were all removed in the last renovation and put back in. They're not original to the original structure. They were all taken out in the last renovation and put back in. So they've been out before. Richard, I would think they're going to need a structural engineer, whoever's going to tackle this. And I would suspect that would be part of their recommendation if they felt it was needed. At this point, Kevin oversaw the selective demolition and he didn't have any concern.
Maybe we should have said that that's actually who we paid was Bordenbaum Engineering, basically.
Yeah,
That's who did the
Bordenbaum did the
demolition.
selective demolition, and they oversaw it.
So it wasn't just like our work crew just doing some stuff.
Yep.
It was an engineer doing
It wasn't just hiring a private contractor. It was overseen by a structural engineer.
work with the staff.
Sure. I
Following
think
up
that
with-
the time. I understand the time frame and I don't take exception to that. I appreciate the offer to work with the new owner because I think they have an option till Saturday. Is that correct?
it.
So I'm not sure when this timeline would start, but obviously there's some. I've met with the new owner, by the way. He's very aware of all of this. I met with him for over an hour yesterday. He understands he'll be inheriting this, so there's going to be no surprise there. And I shared with him everything I knew about the project. He's at this point not daunted by it. He's very committed to move forward with it.
And he's done
Working
quite a
with-
bit of this work, I believe.
Yeah, he's a contractor, so he says he has experience and knows he's done a lot of renovation work, so he feels he knows what he's getting into. I was going to say I appreciate the flexibility of being able to work with time because assuming all four the PAX goes well and this buyer goes through, obviously some time is going to be spent just closing the deal. So for him to come in 30 days from say, I don't know, whenever that happens, Anna, would that be in 5 days, 10 days, 2 days? Whenever that is, it just might be kind of tight for him to come in and have a reasonably complete proposal of exactly everything he's going to be doing. So I appreciate that offer to work with that new owner because his 30 days really won't be technically starting and probably in his mind until he closes on the deal.
Because my perspective is regardless of the ownership, the stabilization is going to be required. And so it's going to be said there's not going to be a whole lot of, we want to do it, we'll do it or not do it. There's some things that you're probably going to have to do regardless. So I agree with Richard on probably need to get the ball rolling. And it's a 90-day process. So it
Sure.
seems like that's
And again,
a lot
I
of
don't
time
think
to-
the PACs take exception
Yeah.
to that.
further discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve, staff recommendation of promotion by property.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
Got one question.
And you are?
I'm Colt. I'm Colt.
Can you come up? Just to, we get you on the record. So.
Y'all gonna go Colt? So on the, you said from 60 to 90, 30 to 60 to 90, so they have a 90-day process.
Anna, you want to explain the
Is that
time frame?
as of 90 days, they need to break ground and need to be started, or they have 90 days to present a plan to y'all so they have everything in order? Because, I mean, that's a big difference.
So after tonight, I'll write up the letter, and then that's giving the owner of record, which is still the PACs, 30 days to correct the defects or a plan for remediation within 30 days. And then if within 30 days following that determination, the board shall again determine that the resource is being demolished by neglect, it may direct the HPO to file a complaint for a violation of the zoning ordinance against the owner. If repairs are not completed within 90 days of the second determination by the C.
If the
So-
repairs are not completed,
Started, yeah.
completed or started?
Well, it says completed within the second 90. So again, we'll work with you as long as there's good faith effort and progress is being made. But ultimately, the clock is starting now. Whomever owns it in 30 days at least needs to have a plan, because if it doesn't close on, I don't know when your option period's up Saturday, maybe it's going to close in a week or two or a month. Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe you work together. If it's going to go through, work together on what is the stabilization plan. Because if it falls through, then it's back on you guys. So
Right.
there's certain things that are going to have to be done by anybody. So what is that minimum, and then agree upon who's going to do it, but if it closes or not.
It's just obviously with the understanding that if it does go through, how much time the new buyer has to get everything in place, and not knowing really when their clock essentially starts. Because it's not, for them, it's really not going to be 90 days. It's going to be whenever they get, stuff closed, just so they know for sure as far as proceeding forward with the work. They can get every contractors and stuff scheduled. So it's just that.
The clock's on the structure.
Right.
We'll work with you, but there's got to
Right.
be a good faith effort and
Sure.
actual progress.
I
So
know there's already a plan, in place. So
We could probably have the porch shored up within a few days. We got a good construction crew that can get over there. I like that idea. We should have thought about saving it so that it keeps the exterior protected. That I think is the thing to not have. Yeah,
And
right.
tear something up.
Sure.
Yeah. That's all we're asking. So.
Exactly. And then, and then just based on how it's
And hi, my name is Alex Lang. I'm the buyer's rep, as Anna pointed out. And I just really want to emphasize too, my buyer is in love with this property, and he is really excited about having the opportunity to save it and restore it to what its former glory. He's, really what you would want, his ideal buyer for a property like this. And I think, for us too, like Randy pointed out, it's going to take some doing to get everything lined up. And again, that time frame just kind of just puts, extra pressure on him, to say the least. Because, things are backed up too. And as, contractors and such go, that's a whole, that they're going to operate on their own timeline too. Of course. Yeah. So.
I mean, are y'all saying that they have to have boots on the ground and have their subs there doing all this construction? I'm not hearing that. But I want to be clear, right?
Right, that's
But
what we want to be.
But
versus the plan that's
for clarity again. So there's once the letter goes out, which will go out whenever it goes out, only this week, I'm sure. You'll have 30 days to respond to that letter and work with the city and agree to what stabilization will need to be done. And then you'll have 60 days past that to actually get the work completed.
The stabilization, not the remodel.
The stabilization, so there's two different things. There's two different things.
First 30 is stabilization, though, it's where she said.
First 30 is agreeing on plan. Okay.
Correct.
Next 60 is
And
actual stabilization.
doing the work.
Yeah.
So
Even though we're
say,
not gonna hold off.
if I were the buyer, just safely, you got 90 days from tomorrow to get the work completed. That's a safe assumption.
Just stabilization work, not the
The
remodel.
stabilization, and we're not talking about bringing it back up to its former glory.
Right.
We're not talking about doing complete work. We're just talking about stabilization, which is quite different than the money you're going to be, or somebody's going to be spending on the
Then if they needed
property.
4 months because their subs couldn't come here and y'all were working out a plan or something, that's all still normal. It's all about stabilization, not doing the remodel.
So that includes the, and that
Correct.
includes the porch and that east wall, correct?
But
Where the
I'm not sure yet because it's when the letter goes out, then the owners will work with Hannah
Okay.
to come up with a punch
So
list of exactly what needs
gotcha.
to be done to stabilize.
Gotcha.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I mean, I
And,
think all parties are more than willing to work and know the issues, so I just want to make sure that it's not, we said this time.
I'd shoot for 90 days from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tell your client that, and
Yes.
you're covered.
Yeah.
So we got a motion from Richard and a second from Joe. Any further discussion from the board? If not, all those in favor of approval of the motion, please say aye.
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 So expect a letter to come out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Any other items?
What about the new email? What was that about?
Sure. So you all now have been issued Fredericksburg email addresses. So for any HRB related or city business, please use please use that address. If you need help setting it up, the IT department is available. Phone call or email it@fbgtx.org, and they can help you get that set up. They do recommend you do it on your laptop or primary computer first, and then from there you can put it on your phone. But that would make it much easier for you after our training as far as, open records request and just keeping it separate from your work or your personal email.
How did it work with people not getting a booklet last week? Is that good, bad? How about the board? I printed out 3 pages. That's all I printed out. So is that?
I mean, mine was great and take tonight, but I really wish I had some papers.
Yeah, I think I would do like David and print out the agenda and then rely on your pictures on the screen.
It forces us to actually do the work ahead of time, which is good. It makes the meetings much quicker, I think. But
City Council's gone this route. The city secretary has new software, so we're trying to move all agendas to this new software. Our memos are a little different than the city council memos, so I think HRB will be the last of all the boards to finally go that route, but that is the idea. And then they are bringing iPads to the dais to look at so that they can scroll through, The city issued city council, sorry guys, we don't have the funds for everybody to get one, but if you are welcome to, if you wanted to bring your own iPad or laptop, to scroll through while you're at the dais, you could do that as well. Or if you want us to continue to print, we will.
question though, is there any, if you bring your personal devices, is there any issues with the public records? Yes. Yeah, Public Information Act, using our personal devices during a city meeting.
I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna be looking at the HRB agenda, and I don't think by bringing that in here, you're opening up your entire computer to anything.
It's something that probably should get a little
Sure.
advice on that. I know, just to remind, especially for Robin, first meeting, if you're on your phone during the meeting.
Oh, yes, I am.
Information is subject.
Right.
Not to bring your phones at all.
I'm on a board in Austin too, and I would say don't bring in a personal computer. Mhm.
If you do want a hard copy,
And I did. And I, of course, am, the one that chisels everything and then reads it. But yeah, they made a hard copy for me and I got it.
Otherwise,
All right.
any other any issues for the city Anna to look at on next month? If not, motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
We got it. Oh, righty. No, I think that belongs here. Yeah, I think.